Funeral service for Mr. Tommy Harbor will be today at noon from Community Funeral Home Chapel in Sylacauga, with burial in the Alabama National Cemetery in Montevallo. Community Funeral Home directing. Funeral service for Mr. James Pope will be Friday at 11 o'clock from Community Funeral Home, with burial in the Alabama National Cemetery in Montevallo. Visitation today at the funeral home from 1 to 7, Community Funeral Home directing. Funeral service for Julia Averett will be Saturday, July the 10th at 1 o'clock from Community Funeral Home Chapel, burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. Visitation Friday from 1 until 7, Community Funeral Home directing. And graveside service for Cornetia Cross will be Saturday at 1 from Lily Roden Cemetery in Childersburg. Visitation at the funeral home on Friday from 1 until 7, Community Funeral Home directing. Funeral service for Harvey L. Campbell, age 81, is today at 3 p.m. from the chapel of Radley Smith Funeral Home. Brother Rodney Frost officiating. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. Visitation is today 2 until 3 at the funeral home. Flowers are welcome, but you may make a donation if you'd like to the Center Hill United Methodist Church. Radley Smith Funeral Home in Sylacauga in charge of the arrangements. Graveside funeral service for William Pawpaw Gary Taylor will be today at 11 o'clock from Tallahatchie Cemetery in Alpine. Reverend Paul Vick officiating. Radley Smith Funeral Home in Sylacauga directing. Funeral service for Mr. Ralph Franklin Durden, age 92, of Goodwater, will be today at 2 o'clock from the chapel of Radley Funeral Home. Reverend John Hill and the Reverend Dion Turner officiating. Burial in the Sakapatoy Cemetery. The family receiving friends today, 12:30 until 1:30 at the funeral home. Mr. Durden died Monday, July 5th at Chapman Healthcare Center. The family will accept flowers or memorial contribution can be made to a charity of one's choice. Radley Funeral Home directing. Mr. Leroy Shaw, age 92, of Springville, died on Monday at his residence. Visitation today, 12 until 2 at Curtis and Son North, with a funeral service at 2 p.m. in the North Chapel. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. Reverend Shaw was a minister in the Methodist Church and pastored at several different Methodist churches beginning at the age of 17 years old. Online condolences at CurtisandSonFH.com. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing that service. In other obituary news on this Thursday morning, brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home. Funeral service, graveside funeral service for Dylan Curtis will be Monday at the Old Childersburg Cemetery at 11 a.m. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel, in charge of the arrangements. And funeral arrangements will be set today for Billy Crow. Curtis and Son Funeral Home will announce those arrangements, and service is going to be Saturday, and times and details will be released later on today by Curtis and Son Funeral Home in Sylacauga.